Mr. Chidoka, as a former minister, my question again will be, where does this leave the ministers where there is an erring CEO or head of agency who is getting out of line? Has this reduced the powers and influence of a minister in cabinet?
No, the beauty of a democracy, the beauty of a constitutional government, it is that you must follow the rules. So a chief of every appointee of the president, including heads of agencies, are appointees of the president. They are not appointed by the ministers. So the ministers have oversight function on them. And when they go wrong, there is a stipulated process, either to go to the board of the agency, as the case may be, or the minister acting as the board, to institute a panel. The permanent secretaries should advise the ministers. The permanent secretaries, the civil service has betrayed this government, this country, because they have refused to advise government agents that this is not the way to go. You set up a panel, it could take you 2 weeks, it could take 4 weeks, it could take you 6 months, or it could take you 2 days to review that action and report back to the appointing authority, who is the president. It doesn't bring down the power of the minister. So long as the minister is not in cahoots with the chief executive, so long as you are not sharing bribes with the chief executive, you are not collecting money from them, so long as you do not bring yourself down to the level of becoming their, a collector, a toll gate from the chief executives, they will respect the office of the minister.
So, Mr. Chidoka, So there's another issue here. From what we've seen several removals of these heads of these agencies, and we've seen some kind of discord, if you may call it, or disagreement between ministers and some heads of agency. How would you describe, so someone who has served at that highest level, how would you describe what is happening presently under this government?
It is the same thing that the PDP is calling for. We are saying that this government have not expressed the reason for its existence. This government does not respect rules. This government have shown consistent disdain for rules. Therefore, the ministers are acting in line. The chief executives are acting in the same line. What we see today is that some chief executives feel that they are bigger than even their ministers because of how they were appointed, who appointed them, and the access they have in the villa. So they go against the ministers. But if the ministers have not soiled their hands with those chief executives, they can follow the process. They can call the chief executives to order by following that process. I remember the many cases that I've been privy to throughout my days in service. I've never had to go against my supervising authority. But many people who did, they have the process. They set up the administrative panel. They send the civil servants to review. And once you are found guilty to have done that, they recommend your sack. On no occasion have I seen any President Passenger or Goodluck refusing the recommendation of a minister against the chief executive.
So, Mr. Chidoka, if this kind of situation is happening where some people have described it as some kind of disunity in the government, what do you think that the president could do, especially when the SGS have weighed in on this matter and there is a new chief of staff in saddle?
Well, it is still the call that it is dangerous for Nigeria. The country is about facing one of its worst recessions. The Minister of Finance has acknowledged that. We have a massive drop in revenue. We have the potential of a disease spreading across the country and killing people. There is no time for disunity in the cabinet. So if this cabinet cannot get in line with the ethos of modern governance, if this cabinet cannot work in line with our constitution, with lines with laid down rules and procedure, I think the time for the president to dissolve this cabinet and appoint a cabinet that has respect for rules by himself, starting to respect the rules.
All right.
What Justice Onogen should stop and then start with the rules to ensure that we have a constitutional government in Nigeria.
Mr. Osita Chidoka, a former Minister of Aviation and an advisor to the National Chairman of the PDP. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.